is the door frame now. I pre-drilled my holes just in the top piece, did a little cross so I got them even. So I'm going to whack them in with the drawer driver. Both the uprights I've done the same height. There's a little bit of variance in the frame, but I'm going to adjust that to the door because what I want is the door to be the same. So I've done it 105 centimeters across, about 1.87 upright, and that will be square, put in square, so that then my doors, the two little doors that go in the middle, they will then fit perfectly. So I'm going to get these screwed in and then we'll offer it up and see where we're at. So that's framing up the door. Really simple door frame. Okay then people, I'm fairly pleased with that. It's just gone straight in, so you can see just that metal there. I have to cut the metal at the end here, metal here. We'll get it screwed in place, and we'll adjust this height and everything, and adjust it in a bit. And we'll get some screws down in there. Okay, so we're looking pretty good on the frame now. I've checked for vertical, horizontal. It's all fitting in nicely. I'm just screwing it in. So I've got a couple of good screws with the washer on. Just working my way down this one, the other side. But I thought I'd just zoom in and show you. So there's one there. So what I've been doing, if I get it down to here, see it there. So I've been punching it first before screwing it because it's really tricky to get it to do it otherwise. A little bit dicey, but that is totally solid. So a couple more bits and we're good to go really. So that's the frame pretty much in. Okay then people, Polytunnel update. So I've got the soil in. So 300 litres of soil. Done the bark, done the weed mat, U-shape. Got the frame in for the door. So that's nice and solid. I'll show you the inside look. So it's looking pretty impressive. See, all fits nicely. So that's all in. So now, tomorrow, we're going to make 2 doors to go in there, and then we'll cut the plastic to go in the door. And we've got proper opening doors and a really solid polytunnel structure. Okay, so we're on to the door construction now. So I've been using 47mm by 50mm sawn carcassing that's been tanalised. So I got some really serious lengths, about 5 meters long, and I've already cut some down. So I've used a chop saw. So I've got 6 pieces. These are going to go across, and I've got these are going to be the uprights. So the uprights have been cut all to the same length, really easy on the chop saw. Now what I had to remember is, of course, so you're going to have this bit, imagine these bits are going to go on the side of the door. I had to leave a gap here and at the other side, and I had to do that twice over. So I measured my space really accurately, so I'd suggest be really careful measuring it. Now what I'm next going to do on these ones, I'm going to route in a small rebate that goes all the way across here, all the way across here. I'm going to cut some thin strips of wood that are going to go in, and that's going to provide me a rebate so I can do my window in mesh or plastic, and it's going to look really neat. So that's going to be my next point, and I'm going to run all of them through the router before I put them together. Okay then, so we're at the table saw. Now I've partly already set up the router table, so I'll come back to that in a second. So what I'm doing now is, so think about, so this is my door frame. My door frame is going to need a bit of a cutout, because obviously I'm going to put the window parts in. That's what we're going to do with the door frame. So these are all ready to go, all cut to size, and I've cut some strips as well. Now this bit of wood, got one over here, this is lath type A. So again, what was this? This was 50 by 22. So the idea is I've set up the table saw. I'll move that out of the way. So set up the table saw, so it's a ripping blade. So I'll go through it no problem. And I've already cut one piece. So you see the idea is that out of this piece here, I'm going to cut 4 strips. So I'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 with a little bit of waste. So these are 10mm. And then what's going to happen is we'll then go over to the router table, and I'll route out a piece here with a kitchen bit, And the idea is then, of course, is that that's going to be widthways the window piece, if I turn it that way. So that will go in. I'm going to make my routed bit here slightly bigger. So that will then just screw in and provide a really nice rebated window. So I can do plastic or mesh or whatever. So I'm going to cut that on a router table in a minute. And I'm just going to do all of these pieces into very thin strips. Before I go any further, I'm wearing a mask, particulate mask, because it's tanalised E, which is really not nice for your lungs. So I've got my ventilation hose and everything. So dust extraction is always important, and I've got my respirator masks and protection of my ears. So there we go. So cut all the bits, and then you can join me at the router table. Okay, so we've cut all the little inlay strips. So I've also done some spare bits, because what's really rubbish about some of these is they actually snap with these, but it's, you know, quite strong. And the cool part is, so just a little reminder, so I made 4 pieces out of each 50mm slot. My saw blade cut like about 1.5–2 mils off each piece. So the last one I then just ran through the table saw, and I've kept my setting just in case I want to make some more. And now what I've done, so my router table, I've adjusted the height of my bit here, so it's just slightly higher. And you might be interested, it's just a standard Hitachi router, kitchen fit a bit, and I've got a little lift here, so I adjust a little lift and I locked it off. And you probably, if I go over, not able to see there, so I'm just slightly high. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to test that out on my sacrificial piece here. So I've set the fence up so it can't come out. I'm going to move the fence here to cover the bit. So I'm going to run through a little test piece, not on my actual pieces. I'm going to see how the inlay fits, and then hopefully, obviously, this inlay will just be perfect. And if it's not, I can adjust a little bit. And I've got my little micro adjuster here that allows me just to make tiny adjustments before I lock it off on the Craig router table. So I'm going to do a little test, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay then, people, so sometime later, you can see all my uprights are done. I've done all these cross members now ready to go, so they're all routed. I actually had to do 3 passes to get the right thickness because the wood is so wet, and you can see even with my dust extraction there's a serious amount on the floor. So you can see the profile if I go in. So that's looking very neat, isn't it? Now this is quite clever. So you're probably wondering, so if I route it all the way to the end, what's going to happen? So that my door frame is going to be jointed like this, so it's going to be screwed in from the end here. Now you're going to wonder, well, what happens there? Well, the clever part is that I made all the little strips the exact same length as my wood. So the strip will go in like that, and obviously that goes in like that, and then it will just be all neat. So it will just be seamless. But remember, it is just a polytunnel. In theory, I could have done it where we put the door together, all the door together, and then you route out this bit all the way round, and then you do, obviously you get a circle bit there, so you take the corner out. And I thought about doing that with a chisel, and then I thought actually it's a lot more messy, and it's much safer using my Craig router table, which is unbelievably safe because you've got the thing here holding it, this guard to protect you, the router itself isn't going to go anywhere, so it's very safe. And then like I said, that will just be very neat. So I'm going to get the door screwed together, and then we're ready to go to hang the door. Okay, so I'm putting door frames together. I've done one already, so that's the first one. You can see, look, one screw just slightly offset because obviously we cut in to this part here. So that one's done. Just got to do this one. So I want to choose, oh look, you can see so they're little framing pieces. So once I've pre-drilled into here, so good pre-drill, it's so easy just to hold it up against drill driver, one screw, that's a 90 mil, and then you can see how the wood here fits in. That's the top window, bottom window, and here at the top you can see. Now you might have wondered what's happened here. Well look, so you've got the straight part, that will fit in perfectly neatly, and that will go in on the other side, and it will look really neat. So I'm going to screw the door together, and that'll be the second door all completed in this project. Okay, so now in the process of just working out what I'm going to do with my strips. So what I did, is I've done it with these two. So put the two together, put a little mark. I've been using this set square triangle, and basically then I can put in 20mm screw holes. So there we've got these screw holes, and then it won't split. And so I'll do all of that ready, and I can stretch out my plastic, put it over the door, and it's job done. Okay then, so we've obviously done all the strips, all the screws are in ready, so that'll be for the inside part of the door, so that's going here, isn't it, on the inside. But then the question is, of course, if we have plastic at the bottom, mesh at the top, sometimes you might want to put plastic. So I've made this little gadget, let's put it in, I'll show you. Drop it in, so you see this fits right inside the frame. So what's going to happen with that is you're going to put plastic round it, all the way around, and then that will be removable, but from the other side. So this bit's on the inside, this bit will just pull out of the outside, and then you've got effectively a sealed polytunnel, which probably, because you know they get quite hot, you won't need this in. Now how I made this really simple, you can see my little nails. So I put a mid mark in my wood, I measured my wood in here, which is really easy to do. Check both doors are really accurately the same, so actually it was really simple. And then obviously here I've just laid it out flat, so I'll get it all flat, and then it's so simple. So the way to do it is get my corner in, so corner in, and then we drop very carefully a nail in here. And when I've done all the bits and pieces, so I've gone all the way around, I've then got these corner pieces. The corner pieces just come in and they just get another nail in there, and that keeps the whole thing lovely and square and stops it flexing. And these are just little bits of offcut. So on the chop saw I just drew out a zigzag pattern and then just cut it on the chop saw, just a bit of old scrap wood that's still tannilated. So there we go, so we're going to do the second window, get it all nailed up, and then we're ready to hang the doors. Okay then, so I'm screwing the battering on, so you can see what I did. I've cut my triangle there, and a triangle the other side, so I put this piece in first, one screw, just pull that down, one screw, then I put a screw in this one, and just got it in the right place, same for this one, and then I just entered a couple of screws ready, then I just pulled tight. Now my poly here is just nice and neat. Notice what's really clever is my design is a zip, it's all the way down here. So technically, if I wanted to unzip like this and move that out, I could do. Probably won't ever need to do that, but it's simple as that. And then what I'm going to do now is cut here and here, and I'm going to take the door out. Once the door's cut out, I can put the doors in. There we go. Okay then, so there's the door cut out. Really easy with a Stanley knife. Just push my hand in a little bit, round the knife down. What's really cool about this polytunnel plastic here is the reinforcement, and I'd definitely say to anyone, if you're buying one of these cheaper kits, this stuff is great, because my other polytunnel, it just ripped and ran really easy. This is so much stronger and I think easy to repair, so it's going to last way longer. So now what I'm going to do is take that, pop it into the doors can go in. Okay, so I'm cutting my plastic. Well, I've taken the big piece, put it right into the corner. I've put one strip on, one screw. Now be really careful, remember I pre-drilled the hole, but look, it's almost starting to crack, so you've got to be really careful. So I did this one, I then pulled it tight, did this one just with one screw to hold it. Then I've done this side, that's important because there's not much here to mess with, and then I'm gonna, this one's just wedged in, I'm gonna pull it across and screw. Really it's a two-person job, so I do have my wife helping. But that's the way to do it. So I'm going to finish off. Now this actually is the bottom. I'm going to turn the door upside down. And the other one I'm looking at doing mesh. And I've also cut my slat here in half because I decided to do half and half, which means I can independently change these. And the other reason is I'm using screws, so I can always readjust or take it out whenever I want without destroying my door. And if you've nailed it in, it's really tricky to get those strips out. So it's all quite worthwhile in the end and looks super neat, and I've not added weight onto my door. So there you go, so that's the door. Next video will be hanging the door. Right then people, I thought I'd actually just show you putting in the mesh as well. So this mesh, which is lovely and tight, so It's actually an old Polytunnel, so it's just basically cutting it up and pulling it tight. But the clever part is, I thought I'd just share with you, is the idea that you pull it, you need another person. So the idea is with my strips, that you pull really tight and then you push the strip in, and one of you then screws while the other's still got it into tension, and that means it just locks it in. This is why routing out this strip was really worthwhile, because any other system you can't really get that same level of tension, which is quite tense really. So there you go, so that's the mesh door, and then I'm going to obviously do my little plastic window inserts in a minute, but it's working brilliantly, well worth all that routing effort. Okay, doors are all ready to go. Mesh feeling really nice. So I've just gone back to my larger table, IKEA tabletop, reused, so a bit more space. Cut my remaining plastic in two, so that's just from the door, wasn't it? I've got some small staples. I'm just going to literally fold my plastic around and staple it on the inside there, and then it will just be really neat, and I'll push in the windows. I did find something interesting. Don't use a Stanley knife trying to cut the plastic. It's much worse, much easier to cut with the scissors, because it cuts through these bits much easier. So top tip, use scissors. So I'm going to get that stapled and then we'll get them in the doors. Okay then people, last door video. So there you go, so there's the panel. Turn it around. So really easy, just literally really simple, stapled in, cut. This plastic stuff with the strips in is so much better than normal plastic. So if you are doing any polytunnel kind of stuff, this is amazingly better, and it stretches real easy. And then literally, so there we go, so it fits into the door, and then I've got full plastic, maybe this will be the outside of the door, and then it just pushes out and you're left with the mesh alternative, so it's really flexible and neat. So I'm going to finish off the second one, get the doors in place. Okay, so nearly finished on the door. Back in the workshop, I'm just cutting this piece here. So I've already cut it to length, so we've chopped a little bit off so it's the right height. And then what I'm doing now, hopefully you might be able to see, so if you check out that side, now that side's pretty rough looking. I'm not doing much with that, but on this side, you can see just on the edges here, just on this part, I've just smoothed it over a little, because we're going to stain it, but I just want to make it a little bit neater, so you can sort of think, because you're going to see it a lot, so the idea is it'll stand out. So I'm just going to put a little bit of work into it, just rounding off one of the edges and smoothing it down, but just really on one side, so that'll be rough, you won't see it particularly, and this one you'll see a lot more. So I'm just going to tidy it up. I probably might, suppose one bit's going to see a little bit, so do you know what, I might just give it all a good buffing up with the Axminster sander. If you've not got one of these are pretty cool. An Axminster craft sander, so you've got the linisher here and this little gadget that you can angle. It's actually really rather good, so if you've not got one, they are well worth buying. Definitely you want to use a bit of dust extraction. Okay, so I think I'm just going to show you this finished door, and we're going to move on to the window. So I've screwed in my little piece here, this fillet. I've also put a bit of trim on the bottom. You can see these windows are great. So we've got the mesh, then they can go down there. So like, look, so that one just sits in there when you're not using it. It's a bit hard to do it one-handed. There we go. So it just sits in there nice and neat. You can open the door. I'm going to need to put a latch. So I've got my little piece of wood. I've just finished it a bit better here. I'm going to put a little latch. You can see down here the little strip, and the little strip makes it look just a touch neater at the bottom, so it fits in. It's just vanity really. Got a bit of a gap for airflow, so there is some airflow there around the top. But what's neat is that the panel here just kind of covers it. Like I said, I finished it just a little bit better. That's what you're going to see the most. All of this will get painted green anyway, so I've got to just do a little latch system just to latch it on. So we'll work that out later. And a little latch here will go click, and then for the rest of the time, open the doors. But we're going to have to put a window in here. That's the next project coming up. Okay then guys, so I've I've now got a little door latch set up. So it's a really simple system. Piece of wood, you've got the little block here, haven't you? This one moves. I put a little washer in the back. It's just really roughly held in because that will flap in the wind. And the idea is then that this one can just go over. This is while I'm inside the polytunnel, and that will just keep it fixed. And what I've done at the top here, you'll have to see, actually I'm going to undo that one. So that one's free to move, and now this one, go out a little bit. So I just drilled a hole, very simple little latch in the wood, and that holds this in. And then outside, and you can't probably tell, let's go out in the rain, that one's going to keep it externally, will keep this door shut. But obviously when I'm inside, this door is free to move around, and this door's fixed now, so it's really easy just to do that. And technically, I'm locked in, but I think you can think of your own systems. All I'm really doing, because I'm at home, is I'm protecting this from the wind. So like that, it can outside latch in, totally secure, inside latch over, spend my time in here without it opening up. So there you go. So a really simple way of sorting out your locks. Obviously this could be a lot more robust if I was trying to protect my produce or something like that, then obviously you could make it a bit more sturdy, but they are just literally some of the cheapest locks that have come, cheapest ones that have come off Amazon, aren't they? That's all. Cheapest latches. So there you go. So that's how you fix up your door. I'm going to have to paint this guy, then it all look the same colour. But now it's raining, so actually I might be going inside.